Well, I came to England in 1963 and went straight to Tulsa School. Now, for any black child coming from the Caribbean and entering the British school system, whether at primary or secondary level, you're at a disadvantage. Not because of any language problem, because we all speak English in the Caribbean. You're at a disadvantage because at that time, in 1963, and now, still now, racism was rife within the British school system, and they naturally assumed that being black and coming from the West Indies, you didn't know as much as the white kids here. In fact, when I came here, I was very bright. I'd passed what is known in Jamaica as a scholarship. It's equivalent to the English 11 plus. And I was put into a low stream. You know, the kind of stream where you leave at 15 and don't bother with no exams or nothing. And I had to fight to get what I left with at school. I wrote this poem towards the end of 73, 74, when a whole heap of black youth were being picked up right, left, and center and charged with being suspected persons. And the National Front was bombing a lot of Asian shops and black people's homes and bookshops and all kind of thing. Heavy, heavy terror on the rampage. Oh, don't you worry, it is so near. Fratricide is only the first phase. Yes, the violence of the oppressor running wild, them picking up with youth them for sauce. Powell prophesying a black conquest. And the National Front is on the rampage, making firebombs to burn way. Terror fire, reach way. Such a suffering we're suffering in this burning age of rage. No place to run, to get gone, and the violence damming up inside. So in the heat of the anguish, you just turn on your brother and you lick him and you lash him and you stab him and you kill him, and the violence damming up inside. Oh, that history should take such a rough route, causing us this bitterness and pain on the way, is a room full of fact. You can't walk out. Fratricide is only the first phase, with brother fighting brother, stabbing brother, them just killing off them one another. But when you see your brother blood just flow, futile fighting, then you know that the first phase must come to an end, and time for the second phase to show. Right. You will have a chance now to ask me any questions you feel like asking me.
Are you actually trying to give a message to the public?
I suppose most writers who write about things happening around them like to think that they are. I suppose so, but I would like to think of my poetry as being more or less a way of seeing things, my way of seeing things.
Most poets tend to write about things like love and things like, but you tend to write about violence.
I suppose that's because it is that which have sparked of my imagination. I write about love as well.
You talk about sparked off your imagination about violence. Does that mean that you were brought up in a violent sort of area, you know?
The whole world is a violent place. The whole world is violent. Well, I come from Jamaica. Jamaica is a very violent place. And I grew up in around Brixton. And I mean, you experience violence every day. In the schools, parties in the pubs, in the park. Everywhere. Even in the House of Commons from time to time, things get a bit hot. Things can get a bit out of hand. Any other questions? You was going to ask me a question. Did you ask me?
What was the incentive to start writing poems instead of taking up a career in fireman, whatever, policeman? Why did you decide to...
Well, poetry isn't really a career for me as such. I think very few people make any money out of poetry. I think the only person who's ever done so is John Betjeman. Um, but I've never thought, I never thought of doing poetry as a living, and I could never do it. You know, I couldn't wear a jacket like this if I was, if I was living off poetry, you know, penniless. But when I was at school, I wanted to become an accountant because I was good at accounts and commerce. But then I sort of lost interest in that after a while.